Good afternoon, members, and welcome to this afternoon's meeting of the Education Skills and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee. Unfortunately, we received apologies from both the Chair and Vice Chair today, so we're going to be appointing a Chair from the floor. So can I have a proposer this afternoon, please? Councillor Goldup-John?
Can I propose Councillor James Henton?
Thank you. And is that seconded?
Yes, I would second that.
Thank you, Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Henton, if I can ask you to come and chair the meeting for us, please.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone to this multi-location meeting of the Education Skills and Wellbeing Scrutiny Committee on the 24th of November 2022. I am Councillor James Henton and I'll be chairing this meeting. Please ensure your phones are switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. In addition, when asked to raise your hand, if committee members who are virtually viewing this meeting, could you raise your electronic hand? And for members in the council chamber, just raise your hand. We have received apologies from councillors Dan Thomas, Rebecca Phillips and Jeff Jones. For the purposes of declarations, I would like to confirm that we will scrutinise items 7, 8, 9 on the agenda, on the Cabinet Board papers. Now I'll move on to declarations of interest. Sorry, Marie Craddock.
Sorry. I'd like to declare an interest, please, in agenda item 7, 4E, page 17, as I have grandchildren in the school mentioned and my husband is on the governing body. I have also been informed that I need to leave the meeting at that point, and I will do so.
Thank you, Marie. Councillor Matthew Crowley, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'm a governor of one of the schools that I mentioned, obviously in the SIP report, so I just want to declare interest into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Proceed with the
Just for clarity, Chair, myself and Councillor Harris are here for a agenda item in relationship to the Kevin Coyd Museum. We are local members, so just from our legal officer, do we need to declare an interest because we're not part of the committee? However, we would be making comments on that agenda item. Thank you.
Members, I believe your interest may be personal interest, so you would be at liberty to speak in the usual way. So if it can be recorded that the leader and Councillor Harris are making declarations, that would assist.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Alison will forward an electronic version of the form for you to complete and email back to her for those that have an interest. We'll now move to the Cabinet Board agenda for pre-decision scrutiny. As previously mentioned, we have decided to scrutinise items 7, 8 and 9 on the Cabinet Board agenda. Item 7, Band C schools, pages 15 to 32 in the reports pack. Would officers like to add anything additional to the report?
Chair, if I may just do a quick introduction, is that okay?
Andrew, sorry, before you begin, Madam, if you would be kind enough to step out, please. Thank you. Just to confirm, our cooperative member has left the meeting. My apologies, Andrew. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Andrew Thomas, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that, Mike. That was fine. And just a quick introduction. This report is something that each local authority in Wales has to do to provisionally secure approval and obviously funding for its capital investment into the refurbishment and replacement of school buildings. All it is at the moment is officer recommendations to members around what the next tranche of schools that require investment, significant capital investment. Just to be familiarised members, Welsh Government through their 21st Century Schools programme currently offer 65% in nearly all cases. It is slightly different for special schools and faith schools, but in nearly all schools, in terms of grant maintained schools, they provide 65% of the capital funding. So obviously, before we can even try to secure that funding, we need to get approval in terms of our what is known as a strategic outline programme, and that's what this is. If members approve the report today and we submit these tranche of schools, all the detailed work when we actually go to implement these proposals will need to be taken. So we're not consulting with anybody. We haven't consulted with any members of the school communities, save one. They are familiar with what's in the proposals, but we haven't consulted with them because there's no requirement to consult at this phase. It's just simply what we think for a variety of different reasons, and I'll go into that if members wish in terms of why it's these schools and not other schools. But that's what this is about. It's just to secure outline permission from Welsh Government in terms of their capital investment. And again, even then, it doesn't guarantee that we will get that capital investment. We then still have to put an outline business case around each one of those proposals to Welsh Government to secure funding. So I don't know if Rhiannon wants to add anything further, but happy to take questions, Chair.
Thank you, Andrew. Does anyone have any questions for Andrew?
I have, Chairman. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Peter. I'm going to go to Councillor Sonia Reynolds first, and then I'll come to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Sonia, please.
Thank you. I wanted to ask one first thing. I wanted to commend the work that's been achieved in getting us and reducing the burden of maintenance and dealing with and improving our schools across the county that's been achieved by officers and the council up to this point. So we've got a good track record to build on to this point. I wanted to ask if members of the committee could have, and I realise not necessarily today, but a bit more clarity as we move forward into this new programme on the criteria for the selection of schools and what weighting is given to certain aspects like numbers and Welsh language, etc., so that we can be informed of that aspect. And obviously, I don't expect a detailed answer of any kind today. And I have another question, but if anybody wants to say anything on that, then yeah.
Sorry, Sonia. Sorry, I do apologise. I can certainly respond to that in pretty general and somewhat specific terms, in terms of as why those schools and not others. Our starting point is obviously Welsh Government capital funding, rules, if you like. It is still essentially a capital programme which looks to improve the infrastructure of our schools, which means reducing all building maintenance backlog over time. Now, that's obviously a significant piece of work, and it will take many years to actually reduce all building maintenance backlog. Probably never happen, to be honest, but by the time we completed everything, it'll be time to go back to the school where we started, because it'll take so long, but at least we'll be in a better position. So there are conversations that happen between education professionals and colleagues in the Environment Directorate around worst first. So our building surveyors are in our schools probably every week. So they've got a very good handle on which schools are most likely to give us business continuity issues, first. Now, that's not to say that any of the schools listed within that programme are going to fail in the next, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is, but they are certainly the buildings which are in most urgent need of replacement, and therefore in some ways are at risk of business continuity failure, whether that be partial or total. So it's a conversation between education professionals and our colleagues in the Environment Directorate about what needs to be replaced first and where the biggest and most significant backlog maintenance issues occur. Part of the thinking as well is around the actual ability to deliver, because some schools have grounds. If you look at many of the projects in this tranche of investment, we are suggesting that we can build a new school while the current school continues to operate unaffected. And then we will, obviously, once the new school is open and the pupils take residence, we will knock the school down and probably replace them with playing fields and car parking, etc. Very much like we've done in Neath, Kevin Syson, and other schools where there is room to actually do that. Now, that isn't the case everywhere. So we also build in thinking around what's easiest to provide. But first and foremost, we think about business continuity failure and where is the most significant risk in terms of building maintenance backlog. So that's generally it. When you ask about weighting in terms of Welsh medium, there is no particular weighting given to Welsh medium provision, save for conversations I've had with Welsh Government around. Members will know that we had a WESP approved recently, and I have made the point to Welsh Government that if we are to be successful in delivering our ambitions within that, then we are going to require Welsh Government capital investment, because we said we're going to open 3 new Welsh medium primary schools over the next 10 years. Quite clearly, we haven't got the funding to be able to do that ourselves on our own. So we do have conversations with Welsh Government around the funding of Welsh medium schools in terms of our WESP, more specifically than the SIP programme. But and hence you'll see one of the proposals is to deliver a new Welsh medium school within the proposals. So that's generally it, Sonia.
Thank you very much. If I may continue, thanks. Thank you, Andrew. That was very informative. The other question I had was whether the officers anticipate any impact on funding discussions with Welsh Government as to regarding the possibility of delays or decisions on using current Welsh Government funds for the new school, pool and adult learning additional learning needs unit in the Swansea Valley.
It's difficult to know how to answer that, Sonia, just because I wasn't aware last week in the budget statement that capital resources to Welsh Government are reduced, and I don't know if there's anybody finance minded on here that might tell me different. We were worried about that. But what we do know is that the amount of money that is currently secure for the investment in the Swansea Valley is £22.5 million, and there's obviously a joint arrangement between ourselves and Welsh Government around that. That money is secured for a specific project. If that project doesn't go ahead, then obviously that money can't be brought down or claimed by Neath or Talbot. I guess there is a general issue around the cost of construction and and local authorities' ability to fund in terms of their their cash position and their budget position. So I think there are probably going to be fewer schemes approved by Welsh Government, just because Welsh Government has a range of schemes which local authorities are applying for, and they have a finite amount of cash, and each one of those schemes is becoming more expensive to deliver, mainly because of construction costs. So it is going to be more difficult for them going forward, I believe. So, our schemes need to be the best schemes that they possibly be. We need to make the strongest economic argument for them to secure as much funding as we can for Neath or Talbot.
Thank you, Sonia. If I can go to Councillor Peter Rees, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm having trouble with my camera, so I can't get it to turn on. So I apologise for that. Sonia has really outlined my question about the Swansea Valley schools. But my question is this: if the Cabinet is minded to agree the recommendations in this report, and if they are, why then the stated objections to the Swansea Valley school proposals?
Thank you, Peter. Councillor Neath Jenkins, please.
Thank you, Councillor Rees. I must say I can't agree with the term objections because, as you're aware, the judicial review by RAG quashed the decisions made regarding the Swansea Valley school decision, which would necessitate a new consultation exercise anyway. The proposals in Band C before members today are very different to what we would discuss or what was previously discussed in the Swansea Valley schools and aren't really relevant. And we need to discuss just this really today. But I can assure you when we do have further information, we will bring a report to members on the Swansea Valley schools, which will be discussed at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, Neath. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Peter?
Well, just that I'm minded that that when this present administration was in opposition, they were against the funding and the proposals on the Valley schools, and now it seems that they are quite willing to go forward with this new proposals. So that's my only objection. And I know that certain people actually in their manifestos actually put that they wouldn't allow the Swansea Valley schools to go ahead and not allow schools to be closed. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Peter. I'll now go to Councillor Caroline Lewis, please.
Oh, hi. I totally understand the school's improvement programme is just a proposal at this point, but I just want to raise a few concerns regarding Llangatwg. The fact that there was 16 places for learning support. Can you hear me okay there?
I can, yeah.
Oh, right, okay. Learning support, little bit of a concern regarding, COVID, the cost of living. Some people did struggle and had difficulties during COVID. Waiting times for speech therapists, OTs, CAMS appointments. Is 16 places going to be enough if we're future planning? Unless we get on top of the waiting lists for these young children, it is a concern. The other point I wanted to make was the fact you said that the rest of the school would be demolished. I totally understand the 70s build being demolished, but the building that was built in 1929 pre-war, I'm a bit shocked that that's going to be taken down. I think it lends itself beautifully to biodiversity with the green area in the middle and with Cry Gladys above it. It is beautiful to look down at. But obviously I'm not an architect or a building engineer, so I don't know the history there either. But the fact that it's almost 100 years old, we should be celebrating it. I feel not knocking it down. And maybe it could lend itself to, I don't know, lessons that could be taught in that area. Other thing I picked up on was the cost we've mentioned, put in muggers, the multi-purpose areas outside schools. In quite a few of the schools, I don't know what the annual upkeep is for those, because they quite build, big structures, aren't they? I'm not sure, but that's something I think we really need to consider. And will we be putting them in other schools, such as Caddixton and Kilfrew School, to get those on par with new schools? And are they cost effective? The other concern with Llangatwg School is the swimming pool that is currently there. If we do actually lose it, I'm aware that a cross-section of the community do use it for swimming lessons, and older members of the community use it. And with the limited bus services that we have in Aberdeenlice, which some areas are quite deprived, it's a concern. I think swimming is an important life skill, and some of our children may not make it to the Neath pool to have those lessons. So it's something maybe we need to consider as a community. And there's currently a youth wing that is used during the school holidays. Will that be put back there? Because currently the nearest youth club for any children in our area is Neath or Brincoch. There isn't anything. So I think by removing the pool and the youth wing is an area of concern, unless you put in something back to replace it. So I hope those points are okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course they are. Just to pick up on each one of them in turn, we've included in nearly all of the proposals to have specialist provisions for pupils with additional learning needs in St Joe's, well, obviously Towins already have 48 planned places, because you're absolutely right, the 16 wouldn't even scratch the surface. When you see the budget proposals that are coming forward for next year, you'll see a report asking for increased planned places for these pupils. So not only through the 21st Century Schools programme, or the Sustainable Learning Communities programme, as it's now been renamed. It doesn't exactly trip off the tongue. That isn't the only way that we need to respond to the number of additional learning needs planned places that we need. So there'll be another report coming through for members. So it'll be in Llangatu, St Joe's, and some of the other provisions, because I completely agree with you. Some of these children, they need these specialist placements, not just because of COVID, but because of they have additional learning needs identified. In terms of the your response about the youth wing, swimming pool, Mooga, and the old buildings taken down, probably I was a little bit blasé when I described what I did earlier. You're kind of getting into the detail about a project. It wouldn't be taken for granted that we will be not replacing the swimming pool or knocking the old buildings down. When we get to the detailed work, and then those are the conversations with the community and the school, we'll look at the best way of delivering a new provision in Llangatu, which is where your question centred. We'll take the views of the community on board about the swimming pool. You will know that when we build new schools now, youth provision and provision for young people to engage in after school, weekend, holiday activities, really, really important. You've only got to look at YBB to see what the extent of the community provision that we've provided there. So that's a really important thing. In terms of Moogas, some schools love them because they want children to be in their school after school and holiday time. Others do worry about the ongoing running costs, and particularly the caretaker costs. So again, that's a conversation we'll have when we get to the detail of building up the outline business case. So I was probably a little bit, as I say, blasé when I said we'll knock these things down and build new. We will take a considered approach with the community to make sure that what they end up with